The motorcade glided through the heart of Dallas beneath a flawless November sky. Flags rippled in the sunlight, cameras flashed, and 1,000 strangers waved as the young president smiled from the back seat of a gleaming Lincoln convertible. It was supposed to be a day of celebration, a moment to show unity before the next election year. But history was waiting just a few seconds ahead, hidden behind an open window and a rifle scope. At 12:30 p.m., a sharp crack tore through the cheers. Then another. In the instant that followed, the world changed. The Secret Service scrambled. Jackie Kennedy reached for her husband, and the car surged toward Parkland Hospital. By 1 p.m., the announcement echoed across America. President John F. Kennedy is dead. News bulletins froze the nation. People wept in classrooms, radios went silent, and millions of Americans felt something sacred collapse inside them. But while the country mourned, investigators rushed to piece together the truth. And that's where the story begins to twist. Within hours, a name surfaced. Lee Harvey Oswald, a 24-year-old former Marine who had once defected to the Soviet Union. Police arrested him inside a movie theater less than an hour after the shots were fired. The case seemed open and shut, too neat perhaps. Reporters shouted questions, flashes blinded him, and Oswald cried out, "I'm just a patsy," before officers pushed him away. 2 days later, as cameras rolled live, nightclub owner Jack Ruby stepped from a crowd and fired a single bullet into Oswald's chest. The alleged assassin died before ever standing trial. In that moment, every certainty vanished. One president murdered, one suspect silenced, and a country left with questions that still echo through every generation. Dallas police sealed off the Texas School Book Depository, a plain red brick building that suddenly felt like the center of the universe. Officers found 3 empty bullet casings on the 6th floor and a cheap Italian rifle propped near the window. It was a Carcano, a mail-order weapon traced to Lee Harvey Oswald's name. To officials, it was enough. The lone gunman, the perfect angle, the end of the story. But investigators soon realized nothing about this case was simple. Witnesses described hearing shots from different directions. Some swore the sound came from the grassy knoll, a small rise ahead of the motorcade. Others claimed they saw a puff of smoke there. Police found men with suspicious credentials scattered around the plaza, each later dismissed as a coincidence. The deeper they looked, the more confusion replaced clarity. Then came the autopsy reports. Doctors at Parkland Hospital described a gaping wound in the back of Kennedy's head, suggesting a shot from the front. Yet the official autopsy conducted later at Bethesda Naval Hospital told a different story. The fatal bullet entered from behind. 2 versions of the same tragedy, both signed by professionals, both impossible to reconcile. Within days, newspapers demanded answers. To calm the storm, President Lyndon B. Johnson created the Warren Commission, chaired by Chief Justice Earl Warren. Its task: prove what happened and restore faith in the government. But behind closed doors, even the commission members disagreed. The magic bullet theory emerged to explain how one shot could wound both Kennedy and Governor John Connally sitting in front of him. A single bullet, changing direction midair, supposedly caused 7 wounds in 2 men. The math strained belief, but it fit the story officials wanted. 1 shooter, 3 bullets, no conspiracy. Outside Washington, Americans whispered a different story. Radio hosts, former intelligence agents, Even a few journalists began connecting dots that led to the CIA, to Cuba, to the mob. Everyone had a theory, and each one made more sense than the last. By early 1964, the Warren Commission's version of events stood like a wall, but cracks began to show. Behind the polished statements and formal hearings, whispers spread through Washington's narrow corridors. Maybe this wasn't the work of one man at all. Maybe it was a consequence of something darker, a war fought in the shadows, where loyalty and betrayal blurred. JFK had made enemies, powerful ones. Inside the CIA, many never forgave him for the Bay of Pigs disaster, where he refused to provide air support for their Cuban invasion. In their eyes, the young president humiliated the agency. Then came his talk of dismantling the CIA's structure, splintering it into 1,000 pieces. It was a threat no one inside Langley took lightly. Cuba itself was another wound. After the failed invasion, Fidel Castro vowed revenge. Intelligence reports spoke of Cuban hitmen, Soviet advisors, and whispers of payback. Oswald's strange history, his defection to the USSR, his open support for Castro's regime, his time in Mexico City visiting both the Cuban and Soviet embassies, fed the suspicion. Could he have been a pawn in a Cold War game? And then there was the Mafia. Kennedy's brother, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, had declared war on organized crime. Dozens of mob bosses were prosecuted, casinos in Havana were shut down, and mob-controlled businesses lost millions. Some of those very figures had earlier worked with the CIA during anti-Castro operations. Betrayed by both the government and the Kennedys, they had motive, muscle, and money to strike back. Each theory came with its own evidence, its own witnesses, and its own silence. Oswald's connections to intelligence operations were buried under classified stamps. The CIA denied everything. FBI files vanished or appeared years later with entire pages blacked out. To ordinary Americans, it began to feel like truth itself was being managed. The more the government insisted on the lone gunman theory, the more people stopped believing it. Polls soon showed most Americans thought the real story was being hidden, and perhaps it still is. As the months passed, the investigation took on a strange gravity. Every new discovery seemed to vanish under layers of red tape, and every witness who might have held an answer found themselves tangled in confusion or fear. Files were sealed, testimonies changed, and rumors began to sound like warnings. Key pieces of evidence disappeared almost as if erased by design. The original autopsy photographs and brain tissue samples, critical to proving bullet trajectories, went missing from official archives. The presidential limousine, soaked in forensic clues, was cleaned and refurbished within days, before a full investigation could even begin. When experts requested the x-rays, they were told they'd been misplaced. Then came the pattern that still chills researchers today. People who knew too much began dying under strange circumstances. Reporters who had spoken to witnesses, ex-agents who hinted at secrets, even minor figures connected to Oswald. All dead, often labeled suicides, accidents, or sudden illnesses. The coincidences piled too high to ignore. Jack Ruby, the man who silenced Oswald, offered cryptic statements from his cell, claiming he acted under orders and hinting at a larger plan. He begged to testify in Washington, saying he feared for his life if he remained in Dallas. His requests were denied. Months later, Ruby died in prison from an aggressive cancer that appeared suddenly. Behind the scenes, agents from the FBI and CIA clashed over who controlled the evidence. J. Edgar Hoover's FBI was determined to close the case quickly, while CIA officials quietly blocked access to their files. Each agency accused the other of withholding information. The truth was trapped between rival institutions, each protecting its own secrets. By 1967, ordinary citizens no longer trusted the story printed in the Warren Report. Television specials questioned the official version, and new photographs revealed inconsistencies in the evidence. A wave of documentaries, books, and private investigations erupted across the country. Everyone wanted to know who killed Kennedy, but those who might have known were already gone. The mystery had grown larger than any one man. It had become a mirror, reflecting the darkness inside America's own institutions, a riddle wrapped in patriotism, power, and silence. By the 1970s, the public no longer accepted silence. America had changed. Vietnam, Watergate, and the Pentagon Papers had stripped away the illusion that its leaders always told the truth. The House Select Committee on Assassinations was formed to reopen the JFK case, promising what the Warren Commission could not: independence. The committee reviewed old evidence and uncovered new voices long ignored. They studied the audio from a Dallas police officer's open microphone, a faint static-filled recording that seemed to capture 4 gunshots, not 3. Experts claimed it proved there had been more than one shooter. For the first time, the U.S. government officially admitted what millions already believed. There was a high probability of a conspiracy, but even then, clarity stayed out of reach. The committee lacked access to key CIA and FBI files still locked under national security. Members hinted in private that those documents held the real story, but their report was cautious, careful not to accuse any specific group. The trail ended where secrecy began. Decades rolled on, and the assassination faded from the front pages, but never from memory. In 1992, after Oliver Stone's film JFK reignited public outrage, Congress passed the JFK Records Act, ordering the release of all remaining documents. Millions of pages were declassified, revealing coded memos, intelligence chatter about Oswald, and surveillance operations that placed him under watch long before Dallas. Still, thousands of files remained hidden, some under extensions lasting into the 2030s. When new releases came in 2017 and 2021, they confirmed one thing clearly: intelligence agencies had known far more about Oswald than they ever admitted. Memos revealed CIA officers tracking him months before the shooting, reports of his meetings in Mexico City, and even contacts with anti-Castro operatives. Yet none of that made it into the Warren Report. Whether those omissions were mistakes or deliberate choices is a question still hanging in the air. For researchers, the truth now feels like a jigsaw puzzle missing a few final pieces, enough to see the picture but not enough to name it. The shadows of the Cold War still cover the edges, and those who held the answers are long gone. In the years after Dallas, America changed in ways no one could have predicted. The young president's death marked more than the loss of a man. It was the end of an era. The nation that once believed in its innocence suddenly saw the shadows behind its own flag. Faith in government began to erode, and every new scandal felt like an echo of November 22, 1963. Yet John F. Kennedy's presence never faded. His words, his optimism, his call for a new frontier still lingered in classrooms and living rooms across the country. He represented what the United States wanted to believe about itself: courage, hope, possibility. And that's why his murder struck deeper than politics. It felt like the death of belief itself. At Dealey Plaza today, tourists walk the same stretch of road with a motorcade past. They stand on the X, painted into the pavement, and look up toward the sixth-floor window. The scene feels frozen in time, ordinary, yet heavy with memory. Inside the old book depository, a museum tells the story through glass and photographs. But even there, answers are scarce. Visitors leave with more questions than they came with. JFK's legacy became something larger than life, shaped not only by what he accomplished, but by what he might have accomplished. The peace he sought with the Soviet Union, the civil rights movement he supported, the dream of sending Americans to the moon. All those threads continued, guided by the idea of the world he wanted to build. His words, "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country," still stir the same ache they did decades ago. Every few years, the government releases more files, and new headlines claim we're closer to the truth. But maybe the truth isn't hidden in a folder or a photo. Maybe it lies in what his death revealed about power, secrecy, and the fragile trust between a people and their leaders. The shots in Dallas silenced a voice, but they also sparked a question that refuses to die. Who truly controls history? The one who acts, or the one who decides what we're allowed to know? For Americans, that question is the real legacy of John F. Kennedy. A mystery unsolved, a wound unhealed, and a reminder that truth, once buried, never truly rests.